The door flew open with a loud crash that rattled the picture frames on the wall. Madison stumbled inside, her heels hitting the wooden floor unevenly. The strong smell of her perfume mixed with old club smoke that clung to her clothes. She laughed loudly, too sharp and careless, while struggling to get her purse off her shoulder. I did not say anything at first. I stayed seated in the dark, one leg crossed over the other. The blue light from the television flashed across my face. After a few seconds, she finally noticed me sitting there. "Oh," she said, her words slurred and arrogant. "I did not know you were still awake, sweetheart." That word hit me harder than it should have. It felt like something sharp breaking inside my chest. "You left at 7, I said calmly. "It is almost 3 in the morning." She shrugged and nearly lost her balance as she kicked off one shoe, then the other. Time goes fast when you're not stuck in a dead house filled with dead energy. The way she said it felt intentional, like she wanted a reaction. Something inside me snapped. I stood up slowly. "You're drunk," I said, "and you are boring." She dropped onto the couch and stretched out like a teenager testing boundaries. "I needed space from your sad, heavy energy." My hands tightened into fists, but my voice stayed steady. "You needed space, so you used rent money at Velvet Room with your new friends." She laughed and threw her head back. "Rent money? Please. Your pride is worth more than that tiny paycheck you bring home every 2 weeks." My heart pounded as I stepped closer. "That paycheck paid your parents' mortgage for 2 years, and they still treat you like nothing." Her eyes flashed. "Isn't that funny?" It was not funny. Not after I passed on promotions, so she could chase her boutique dream. Not after I sold my truck to pay her mother medical bills. I used to believe love meant sacrifice. But that night felt different. It felt like I had been fooled from the beginning. "You know what?" I said quietly. "I cannot wait for tomorrow." She tilted her head with a smirk. "Oh, what happens tomorrow?" I looked straight at her. "Divorce court." For one single second, she froze. Then she laughed, cold and cruel. "You think I'm scared of that?" she said while standing unsteady. "You're not leaving me. I am done with you." She turned and slammed the bedroom door so hard the walls shook. I stood there, hands shaking, not from fear, from something darker that had been buried under years of guilt and compromise. Outside, insects buzzed loudly. Inside, the silence felt heavy. I remember my old life. Simple, honest, working construction under the Texas sun, coming home tired, eating dinner at a table I built myself. Madison used to wait for me barefoot, wearing one of my old shirts, smiling like I was her whole world. Somewhere between her chasing status and me chasing stability, something broke, and I knew it would never come back. Let her laugh. Let her slam doors. Tomorrow she would walk into court thinking she was in control. She did not know I had already walked away. The courthouse smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. The kind of smell that makes everything feel tired before anything even begins. I sat on a hard wooden bench with my hands resting on my knees, forcing myself to stay calm. Across the room, Madison sat like she belonged on a magazine cover. Her legs were crossed perfectly. She wore sunglasses, even though we were indoors. She chewed gum slowly, like the result was already decided in her favor. 2 seats away sat her parents, Marjorie and Wallace Whitmore. People with money and influence. The type who donate just enough to buildings so their names can be carved into metal plates. Wallace did not look at me once. He stared straight ahead like I did not exist. Marjorie did look at me. Her eyes were cold. "You always live beyond your place, Daniel," she said quietly but sharply. "You really believed marrying my daughter made you important." I met her gaze. I never wanted to be important. I just wanted to be her husband. Her lips tightened. She said nothing else. Instead, she turned and gave Madison a small nod. A silent signal of approval. That is when I noticed Grace. She sat slightly apart from the rest of them, tucked into the corner of the bench. She wore a light blue sweater. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the wall. When her eyes met mine for a brief moment, I saw something I did not expect. Guilt. The judge called us in, and everything moved fast after that. Madison lawyer tried to make me sound controlling and bitter. They painted me as someone who held her back and ruined her dreams. Madison stayed quiet the entire time. She did not need to speak. Her posture, her clothes, her confidence did all the talking for her. My lawyer laid out the facts. Bank statements, mortgage records, receipts, everything in my name. Every sacrifice I had made written clearly in black ink. The courtroom went quiet as the judge leaned forward. After reviewing the evidence, she said, "Mr. Hunt will retain ownership of the house and assets registered in his name. Mrs. Whitmore Hunt will receive financial compensation for her contributions and retain ownership of her vehicle. The divorce is finalized as of today." Just like that, it was over. Madison's face did not move, but I saw her jaw tighten. She was not angry. Not yet. She was shocked. Outside, the sky was gray and heavy. Texas heat without rain. The kind that presses down on your shoulders. As we stepped onto the courthouse stairs, Wallace moved close enough for me to feel his breath. "This is not over," he said. "You embarrassed my daughter." I stepped past him without slowing down. She did that herself. Grace walked past quietly. Just before she reached the car, she glanced back at me. Just for a second. Then she was gone. I was still wearing my old work boots. The same ones Madison used to mock. Funny how they lasted longer than the marriage. I sat behind the wheel of my truck and let out a deep breath I did not realize I had been holding. This was not a victory, but But it was a beginning. They came expecting to see me crushed. Instead, I'd already buried the marriage. I turned up the music and pulled away from the courthouse. The road ahead felt quiet, not empty, just calm. For the first time in a long while, my chest did not feel tight. The noise in my head faded as the miles passed. When I reached home, the sun was already sinking. From the outside, the house looked the same. Faded paint, old porch swing, cracked steps. But inside, everything was different. I stood in the doorway with my keys still in my hand, listening. No television noise. No footsteps. No angry sighs. No late-night phone calls whispered behind closed doors. Just silence. And this time, the silence felt peaceful. I placed my keys down and walked through the house slowly. Each room felt lighter, like it had been holding its breath for years and finally let go. The couch looked like just a couch. The kitchen smelled clean, not heavy with old arguments and resentment. I opened the windows and let fresh air roll through the house. It carried something out with it. Old fights, old doubts, old pain. I cooked a simple meal. Nothing special, just enough. I ate on the porch while the sky turned orange and pink behind the trees. Halfway through dinner, something strange happened. I was not replaying the argument in my head. I was not preparing for the next fight. I was not waiting for the sound of keys at the door. I was just sitting there. That night, I left the windows open when I went to bed. The street hummed softly outside. No yelling. No slammed doors. No space beside me filled with anger. I slept deeply. The kind of sleep you get when your body finally understands the worst is over. The next morning, sunlight crept across the ceiling. I lay there for a moment, just breathing. I did not reach for my phone. I did not check messages. I stayed still and let the calm settle in. The next 2 days passed slowly. I cleaned the gutters. I mowed the lawn. I fixed the cabinet door that had been crooked for months. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. Every small task felt like a piece of myself returning. There is something powerful about reclaiming your space. It is not just about the house. It is about remembering who you are when no one is tearing you down. Then, on a warm Thursday afternoon, the doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Grace stood there. Grace stood on the porch looking unsure, like she might change her mind and walk away at any second. She wore a pale green sweater, the sleeves pulled down over her hands. Her eyes moved from the railing to the street before finally settling on me. I know this is strange, she said softly, but I did not know where else to go. I stepped aside and invited her in. She did not sit down. She stood by the window, arms crossed tightly over her chest, like she was holding something inside that might break loose if she relaxed. I overheard things, she said after a moment. Things Madison said about you. To her friends. To my parents. I stayed quiet and let her continue. None of it was true, Grace whispered. She made you sound like a monster. Like you controlled her life. Like you ruined everything. And I just listened. Why did you not say anything? I asked gently. She flinched, expecting anger. Madison controls everything in our family. She always has. Speaking up would have made me the enemy. The clock on the wall ticked loudly between us. I did not come here to ask for forgiveness, she said. I just needed you to know something. You're not crazy. You never imagined any of it. I nodded slowly. I already knew that, I said, but it helps to hear it. She gave a small, sad smile. I should have spoken sooner. I walked to the door and opened it for her. You're here now, I said. That matters. She paused on the porch, then turned back to me. Daniel, she said, her voice shaking. You did not deserve what she did to you. I know, I replied. She nodded and stepped down the stairs. As she walked away, her shoulders loosened, like telling the truth had lifted something heavy. I watched her disappear down the street, feeling something stir inside me. Not anger, not sadness, recognition. Like two people who had survived the same storm and finally found shelter. The next morning, my phone would not stop buzzing. Messages poured in. Questions. Apologies. Some silence, which said enough. I did not answer right away. I sat on the porch and watched the sunrise paint the yard gold. For the first time, I did not feel the need to explain myself. The truth was already doing that job. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Grace. Her voice sounded steady, but I could hear tension beneath it. I told her. Told her what? I asked. Madison, she said quietly. I told her I was done covering for her. I told her I helped post everything. Then I had screenshots. My stomach tightened. How did she react? Grace let out a short, dry laugh. She screamed so loud I thought the house would shake. Said I destroyed the family. Said I was jealous. Said I wanted attention. I leaned back in the chair, staring up at the sky. And your parents? I asked. Same as always, she said. They stood behind her. Said I was dramatic. Said you manipulated me. I stayed silent, not because I lacked words, but because nothing I said could change that yet. She told me I was dead to her, Grace added. Said if I ever showed up at a family holiday again, she would throw food at my head. Despite everything, I let out a soft breath. Guess that saves you from a bad meal. Grace laughed weakly, then went quiet. I'm scared, she said. Those words hit harder than all the insults Madison could throw. You did nothing wrong, I told her. I know, she said, but that does not make it easier. The wind picked up, sending leaves sliding across the yard like restless thoughts. I'm sorry I dragged you into this, I said. You did not drag me, she replied. I walked in. After a pause, she asked quietly, was it worth it? I did not answer right away. I just needed someone to say it out loud, she admitted. You are not alone anymore, I said. And I meant it. After the call ended, I sat there thinking about what it really cost to tell the truth. Grace did not speak up to save me. She spoke up because she was tired of disappearing. That made her braver than anyone I knew. Just after midnight, my phone buzzed again. I need to show you something. Can I come over? I hesitated only a moment before replying. The door is open. When Grace arrived, she did not knock. She stepped inside like the house already felt safe to her. She looked tired but calmer, like someone who had finally stopped running. She handed me her phone without sitting down. Her hand shook slightly. I found this last night, she said. Madison forgot to log out of her second account. She used it to talk to the men she was seeing. I scrolled slowly. Messages. Photos. Dates that went back months, long before divorce was ever mentioned. Madison had lied about everything. About feeling trapped. About being unhappy. About me. Grace watched my face carefully. I should have shown you sooner, she said. I had these for a while, but you were finally healing. I did not want to break you again. You were trying to protect me, I said. She nodded. Even if it was not my place. You waited until I was ready, I replied. That matters. She sank into the chair across from me, arms folded tight. I'm scared of what comes next, she said. Madison is threatening to burn everything down. You are stronger than you think, I said. You already crossed the hardest line. Tears slid down her face. I just did not want to carry it alone anymore. You do not have to, I said. She stayed for a while. We did not talk much. Sometimes silence heals more than words. When she stood to leave, she stopped at the door. You are not angry with me, she asked. I shook my head. Not all. Her lip trembled, but she did not hide it. Good night, Daniel. Good night, Grace. I watched her walk down the path into the dark. When I closed the door, I locked it. Not to keep anyone out, but to finally keep the truth in. The next morning arrived quietly. Sunlight slipped through the kitchen window while I stood at the counter making coffee. The house was calm, too calm, like it was holding its breath. Then the front door swung open hard. Madison burst inside like a storm. Her hair was wild. Her eyes were red and swollen, like she had not slept at all. Anger poured off her in waves. You really think this is funny, she shouted. You think humiliating me in public makes you some kind of hero. I took a slow sip of coffee before answering. Morning to you too. She paced the room, hands shaking. My brand deals are collapsing. People are asking questions they never asked before. My parents are furious. I leaned against the counter and met her eyes. You mean questions like when you started lying? Or why your sister was the one who finally told the truth? Her face changed instantly. Where is she? Who? Grace, I asked calmly. Do not act stupid, Madison screamed. She stole my phone. My messages. My entire life. She did not steal anything, I said. She showed what you try to hide. Madison stepped closer, fists clenched tight. She is dead to me. Do you hear that? I gave her everything. Your version of guidance broke her, I said quietly. You did not protect her. You erased her. Before she could respond, the door opened again. Grace stepped inside. She wore jeans and a simple hoodie. Her hair was pulled back. She looked calm. Not scared. Not small. Just steady. This is not your house anymore, Grace said. You gave that up when you walked out. Madison spun toward her. You think he is saving you. He is nothing. He always has been. Grace did not blink. I do not need saving. I saved myself. The room fell silent. You ruined everything, Madison said, her voice cracking. The family. Our name. No, Grace replied, her voice firm. You ruined everything. I just stopped cleaning up after you. Madison stood frozen, anger and panic fighting across her face. She looked at both of us like she did not recognize us anymore. Then she turned away, slammed the door behind her, and disappeared down the path. The silence afterward felt different. Clear. Honest. Grace exhaled and rubbed her hands together. She is never going to let this go. I know, I said. But she does not get to rewrite the story anymore. We stood there for a long moment, letting the quiet settle. Then Grace reached for my hand. I did not pull away. 2 days later, an email arrived from Wallace and Marjorie. Short, formal, direct. They apologized. Grace read the message slowly that evening as we sat on the porch. They never apologize, she said softly. They see it now, I replied. Late, but they see it. Peace did not arrive loudly. It came slowly, in small pieces. A calm morning, an honest conversation, a moment without fear. Weeks passed. Madison stayed gone. Grace met her parents alone. It did not fix everything, but it opened a door that had been closed for years. We sat on the porch as the seasons began to change. Leaves fell one by one. Not rushed. Not forced. Sometimes I still wait for something bad to happen, Grace admitted. Like everything might explode again. Does it? I asked. Not lately, she said. We watched the world settle around us. I used to think justice was loud, she said. Courtrooms. Screaming. Public apologies. Sometimes justice is quiet, I replied. Sometimes it is just the truth landing where it belongs. She leaned her head against my shoulder. You were once part of her story, she said softly. But you're not anymore. I looked out across the yard. And you? She smiled. I'm finally writing my own. We stayed there until the sun disappeared and the sky turned dark. No yelling. No chaos. No fear. Just peace. And in that moment, I knew the betrayal was over. Not because someone lost, but because we finally chose to stop living in someone else's storm. The world did not change overnight. There was no celebration. No victory speech. Just quiet. The house stayed still. The phone stopped ringing. The noise that once lived in my head finally faded. I did not win anything in court. I won myself back. The truth came out without shouting. The lies collapsed without me chasing them. And the people who mattered saw things clearly, even if it took time. Healing did not arrive like a storm. It arrived like a slow sunrise. One calm morning. One honest moment. One breath without fear. Some stories end with revenge. This one ended with peace. And that was enough.